This week on the JMC Network Newscast. First, the story behind the ACU alum who made a feature video about the restoration of an Abilene home that made it on NBC's The Today Show. Then details of the documentary that followed the stories and experiences of 3 ACU students produced by the Office of Multicultural Enrichment. Also, this week's Spotlight with Catherine Blakemore. And the ACU Center for Speech and Language Disorders is offering a free 2-part voice program called Speak Out to help individuals with Parkinson's regain and maintain their speaking skills. And finally, an inside look at the ACU professor in the Art and Design Department who has started a semester-long project creating steel figures. Welcome to the JMC Network Newscast. I'm Laura Benson. Well, Terry Browder, an ACU alum from the 1970s, restored a house in Abilene on Sales Street. While restoring the house, he created a video about the architectural work that went into restoring the home. Well, that video ended up being featured on NBC's The Today Show. We got a chance to personally interview Browder and take a tour around the house that made it big. Take a look.
This is the Sales landmark. This house was built by Henry and Hattie Sales in 1889. We have spent 4 years on restoration, and I like to call it redemption instead of restoration because it's a more spiritual term, and I think it applies to what we've done here. And we have tried to respect the architecture and the period, but we haven't done a museum house. We've mixed styles of furniture, different kinds of things that would portray a progression of the house through the century and a quarter that it's existed. The house has been converted to a bed and breakfast. It is a design-oriented property. It has smart TVs, it has Wi-Fi, it has electrical and USB port outlets beside each bed so that people can plug in their devices. So it functions just like a modern hotel, that kind of thing as far as technology goes. We've tried to respect the history and just the historic presence of the house, but we've tried to bring it into today, into the 21st century.
The Office of Multicultural Enrichment created a documentary that followed the stories and experiences of 3 students on campus. For all the behind-the-scenes details that went into the making of this documentary, here's Jessica Clark.
This month, of course, February being Black History Month, Multicultural Enrichment Office really wanted to try to facilitate conversation about African-American culture, African-American history. And so the approach we took this month was more towards in trying to open up conversations on Black culture, African-American culture, versus just focusing on African-American history.
It allows people to understand that the only way you can really know somebody is not by their skin color or by where they came from, what city or state, but by their stories. You know, they taught us in Spotlight, the best way to learn is through stories. That's how we communicate in our lives, in our society.
If being Black carries a different meaning for different people, then the meaning of Blackness varies even greater.
For this week's Spotlight, we went downtown to the Center for Contemporary Arts for ArtRap, a conversation and a monthly dialogue about social issues in contemporary art. We got to speak with 2 of the artists whose exhibits are currently on display. You can take a look at that now.
Probably one of the most difficult issues is trying to make people understand just what is contemporary art. That in dealing with social issues, many times racial issues particularly, a lot of people think we still don't have any racial issues in America, but you know, it's obvious that we still do. Ode to Mother Earth, a purely abstract piece, very textural, and I struggled and slaved over that thing for several weeks, and it's changed itself, or I changed it half a dozen times before I got it to where it is.
We trivialize the problems that still exist by trying to pretend like they don't exist.
Chase Turk. My exhibit is plastic. I think this is more contemporary than most contemporary art. I think contemporary art is more about pushing the envelope, pushing boundaries, breaking down walls. I don't see a lot of that.
What has been the driving force behind these works?
A lot of it is personal experience, but I love idioms and I love playing with words. I want them to offend them to the point where they want to think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Chase.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. You can see these exhibits and more down here at the Center for Contemporary Arts. Thanks for joining us.
The ACU Center for Speech and Language Disorders is offering a free 2-part voice program called Speak Out to help individuals with Parkinson's regain and maintain their speaking skills. Parkinson's disease occurs when neurons in the brain that produce a chemical called dopamine die or become impaired. By the time a person exhibits symptoms of Parkinson's, 60 to 80% of the dopamine-producing cells have been damaged. Diana Taylor, the clinical director of the ACU Center for Speech and Language Disorders, became certified for the Speak Out program when she came across a booth at the Professional Convention Center 2 years ago. Speak Out is the only nonprofit Parkinson's speech therapy program that exists in the United States. It is unique in that it allows patients to receive treatment for free and includes support group meetings even after the therapy sessions are over, so that patients' progress does not digress once the treatment is complete. 8 current ACU language disorder students are now also certified in the Speak Out program. ACU currently has 2 patients receiving treatment but wants to raise awareness and encourage anyone who has Parkinson's disease to come in for a free evaluation. For more information, please call the ACU Center for Speech and Language Disorders at 325-674-6670. And now for a look at how the baseball team did in its season opener and more, let's head over to the sports desk with Hannah Little.
Thanks, Laura. The women's softball team swept Prairie View A&M in its first 2 home games of the season last weekend. The Wildcats won 8-0 and 6-2 in their doubleheader. The team will be back on the road traveling to Waco to play against several big schools, including Oregon and Baylor. Baseball had a tough opening weekend against the University of Nevada Wolfpack. The Wildcats dropped Friday 3-12, but stayed in the game Saturday, losing 6-9. In Sunday's game, the Wolfpack led 2-3 at the top of the 9th, but the Wildcats couldn't pull it out. The team heads to Edinburgh to play the University of Texas Pan American this weekend in a 3-game series and will play Texas Tech at home Tuesday. Head coach Britt Bonneau talks about welcoming the Raiders to the Crutch.
It's going to be exciting for not only ACU but Abilene. Abilene can come out and support not only Texas Tech, they can support their Wildcats. Texas Tech's a top 10 team in the country. So how exciting is that? I mean, if you can't get up for a game like that, you know, you shouldn't be playing. So I think it's just going to be good overall for us to be able to compete again at another high level.
The women's basketball team competed against Texas A&M Corpus Christi this past Wednesday at home. Here's Sharon Nemurowski with the recap of the night's game.
ACU women's basketball proved Texas A&M Corpus Christi's defensive title wrong Tuesday night in Moody Coliseum. With a packed student section and coming off 2 straight wins, the Wildcats wasted no time against the Islanders. The Cats stepped up their defense, allowing Corpus Christi to shoot 30% from the floor and just 15% from outside the 3-point line. Junior guard Whitney West started the game with a series of 3-pointers and shot 67% through the night. Sophomore forward Sydney Shellstead recorded a game-high 18 points. Wildcats led the entire game, ending the first half with a 39-26 lead. ACU continued to dominate in the second half, ending the game 76-41 against the Islanders. This solidifies the Cats' place in the Southland, improving them to 14-10 overall and 6-7 in the conference.
We played really good team basketball, shot the ball well, and it was just a really good, solid team win.
Up next for the Wildcats is a game on the road against Southeastern Louisiana. The men and women's track teams competed in the Southland Conference Indoor Championship this past week in Alabama. The men's team finished 5th place and the women's team finished in 4th place. First place finishers were Rosin Daniel in the 200-meter dash, Kimone Green in the 400-meter dash, and Daniel Block in the 800-meter race. Green and Block also set new personal records. The Wildcats' next meet is at the Texas Tech Open this weekend in Lubbock. That's all for this week's Sportscast. Back to you, Laura.
Thanks, Hannah. Well, an ACU professor in the Art and Design department has started a semester-long project creating large steel figures. Check it out.
For the last couple of years, the Abilene Cultural Affairs Council has been putting on a children's fest in early June, and they've been unveiling bronze sculptures that portray characters from children's books. And so this is the 3rd year, and I've done most of them because they said they wanted to keep it local, and I said thank you because I'm the only one that's local, so I've been getting the projects. Although I'm not the one that's sculpting them, Steve Neves at Hardin Simmons is sculpting them, and I was glad to collaborate with him. So he brings me plaster sculptures, and then I make the molds from those, and then the waxes, and then I put them through the whole casting process and finishing.
Well, for more stories and breaking news, go to acuoptimist.com and like our Facebook page, The Optimist, for the fastest way to keep up with all the latest breaking news at ACU. As always, thanks for watching the JMC Network Newscast. I'm Laura Benson. Have a great week, everyone.